What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 EDC, and today I am ready to do my full review on the Kershaw Kindred. So hopefully this looks okay to you guys. This is now, I believe, my third or fourth video with the top-down view, and one comment that I was getting a few times was to zoom out a little bit so the knife is always in in the shot, in the frame, whatever you want to call it. So I did zoom out a little bit. So if this looks okay and sounds okay to you guys as you watch through the video, please comment down below if you like it, if you don't like it. Any critiques, I will happily oblige to. Yeah, we're gonna jump right into the review today. I figured maybe see a few videos of just the top-down camera instead of doing like the minute and a half long intro with my face on it. We're just going to jump right into the review, see how that does. But yeah, this is the Kershaw Kindred. This is the last of the 4 knives that I got in via the Lefty passaround group as part of the kind of Kershaw and ZT package. The 3 previous ones that I have reviewed on the channel, if you guys have paid attention and watched. Or if you haven't, I have done the Auto Iridium, I have done the ZT0044, and I have done the ZT0512, which leads us to the Kindred being my last one. And, this is not going to live up to how impressed I was with the previous 3, but for the price, I think this is a very, very good button lock option, budget button lock. And I like this knife quite a bit. Again, it's not materially as impressive as the other 3, but I still think it's very good considering the price, and I think it can find, a role into a lot of different people's rotations, given the design and the simplicity of it. And, all things considered, overall, it's a pretty solid knife. So, of course, this is in via the Lefty passaround group, as always. And without further ado, we're going to jump right into the review. So starting off with materials, you guys can see these are rocking some black aluminum scales. Now this aluminum, it is a little bit slippery. It's not, it feels good, but you definitely have to be aware of that whenever you are handling the knife. It is definitely not the, most tacky aluminum I have felt out there. Of course, this is a button lock, and to me, this is unique because most button locks, this is the button lock side, of course, but on this side, you can see where the button pushes through, which is unique because on a lot of other ones, it's just a scale. So I thought that was interesting how they designed that and how they decided to, input that there on the clip side. Of course, the clip is a loop over style deep carry clip. Very, very nice, very deep carry. You guys can see that that goes pretty much, below the pocket. Reversible. It's mounted on the inside too, which is cool. I really like when clips do that. Sometimes they tend to get bunched up on your pocket, in the very top here, but this one works very well. Slides in and out great. Thumb studs for deployment. You get a D2 stone washed. They're calling this a spear point, but I would consider this more of a drop point. This, of course, is made in China. It's one of Kershaw's budget models, but D2 is much better than the HCR13 MOV crap you get on a lot of their other models. Just a very sleek design. Again, the blade is pretty thin. The blade stock comes down to a thin edge, which is very nice. A pretty handsome looking knife overall, which we'll get to in the aesthetics in a minute. KVT bearings. There is no internal milling, but this is a very lightweight knife as it is. So yeah, I think that's, pretty, easy to go over material list. D2, aluminum, button lock, reversible, deep carry clip, beautiful blade. 5 out of 5. You guys know, and I say this almost every single video, it is very hard to not get a 5 out of 5 on the materials. They have to be pretty stinking bad on the materials to not get a 5 out of 5 when it comes to, my reviews. Now, some quick specs for you guys. Excuse me. You have an overall length of 7.2 inches. You have a blade length of 3 inches. You have a closed length or handle length of 4.2. And this comes in weighing 2.6 ounces, which is very, very lightweight. I really like that. Of course, you're just getting a 3-inch blade, so this is a smaller size knife, but about 2.5 ounces is very, very good for any knife, you know, regarding on the size. So that's very, very nice. So yeah, that's all for materials and specs. I will leave a link in the description down below to Knife Center where you can get this. For some reason, you know, some knives I find them to be the same price when it comes to retailers and the you know, OEM's website. So on this or as for the Kindred, it is more expensive on Kershaw's website as opposed to retailers. So I found the first one in stock, that is Knife Center. So it'll be linked down below if you guys are interested in going and checking it out further, seeing for yourself what this knife is about. Now for aesthetic, I think this is a good looking knife. Again, it's simple. You guys know me. Simple is my cup, you know, kind of cup of tea. Now, you know, there's nothing crazy about the knife, but I think it's a very, you know, handsome, good looking knife. I'm not going to say it's, you know, I'm not going to say it's the best looking knife, you know, ever. But I'm, you know, quite intrigued with how the knife looks. And I think it's worthy of a 4.5. I'm not going to go out and say it's a 5. But, you know, I'll take that. Nah, I'll go 4.5. It's simple enough. But, you know, it doesn't do anything for me to where like, oh, I need to have that. But it's good. It's good enough looking to me where I'm like, you know what, that's a good looking knife. I see the, you know, the similarities to a lot of other models out there. And I see, you know, kind of the allure behind it. So I'll go 4.5 with that. And, you know, leave it at that with the aesthetics. So next up, we're going to talk about action. You get dual thumb studs on this model. Of course, the button lock. The detent is not great, if I'm being honest with you. It's a pretty light detent. You guys can see it's not, you know, of course I'm trying to fail it, but I mean, it's just popping out of there. I think I've done this before, but yeah, I can do that. I can wrist it out. So that, I mean, not a great detent, but as long as you pull it out of your pocket, you thumb it open, it's going to work fine. The middle finger flick, reverse flick works great as well. You just have to be, you know, aware that the D10 is light and you have to give it a little bit more action. And once you realize that and you kind of get to know the knife, it's going to work fine. You know, as long as you're pulling your knife out of your pocket and you're not doing this, you're going to be perfectly fine. Excuse me. But reverse flick is, you know, decent. Thumb flick is decent. The button stays pretty flush to the knife. You guys can see there. You know, not standing out a whole lot. And it does have a nice texture to it, which I like. Has a little bit of a ring up around it. I apologize. I'm still getting used to, you know, kind of where my camera's at on this screen. But yeah, good looking aesthetic. Or excuse me, I already talked about action or aesthetic. I'm on the action. You know, it's decent. Slow roll it out, works fine. The button drop is good. I mean, you're going to get pretty much this sort of action with any button lock. So, I mean, it's once you've held, you know, 3 or 4 button locks, you've held them all almost. But overall, it works good. You know, again, I wish the detent was a little bit stronger, but for a knife this price, I don't think there's going to be any issues with it. Like, I don't have an issue with, you know, the lighter detent, but because of the lighter detent, I'm going to go 4.5 on the action. I just, you know, can't give it a full 5. Next up is the acoustics. You guys can probably already tell this is where we're going to lose some points here. Just doesn't really do much. It's pretty mulled. It's pretty, you know, muffled. It's not very aggressive even when you're really putting your thumb into it. Just not much acoustic sounds there. Of course, there is no internal milling on either side of the knife, so that doesn't help. Aluminum is not the best when it comes to, you know, acoustics in general. Again, it kind of muffles everything. So I got to go 3.5. And you guys know, out of all my categories here on my knives or my review channel, my review videos per se, definitely take the acoustics with a grain of salt. They are the most, you know, opinionated, I feel like, category on here. Some of you, might not care at all about acoustics. Some of you might really care. So I try to be somewhere in the middle, and I just try to be, as fairly unbiased as I can. But acoustics, 3.5 is pretty much my standard starting out. 4 is pretty good, above average. 4.5 is really good, and 5, of course, is perfect. And this is, just pretty much average, what you would expect from a button lock with aluminum. So 3.5 I think is pretty fair for it. And we're going to move on next to ergos. Now, the ergos, I can confidently say are very good on this knife. Again, very clean, very simple lines. I do have to, again, remind you guys that this aluminum is pretty slippery. You're going to get, I'm not going to say it's going to like just fall out of your hand, but especially when it's cold, that tends to make it even more slippery. But overall, not bad. When it comes to the aluminum factor, I would take maybe half a point, which I think I will, just because, you have to be aware of that. But overall, ergos, very, very comfortable. I can get a full 4-finger grip on this knife, as you guys can see, with just a little bit sticking out of the back. You do have some jimping right here, which is nice for your saber grip. Hammer grip works really well. It's a very, easy to hold handle. You pretty much have a straight line. You have a straight line, a little bit of a finger groove, and it tapers off towards the back here. The pot clip is very, flush to the scales. It's pretty flattened, which is nice, which makes it, flatter clips like this are easier when it comes to the ergonomics, because it kind of evens out the hot spots, makes it better to go into your hand. So it's very comfortable, I will say, very, very comfortable. But like I said, when it comes to the aluminum factor, it's good aluminum. It's just very slippery. There's not much of a finish to it. So you do have to be aware of that if you were, utilizing it in especially colder temperatures. It becomes a little bit more cold. But as far as ergos are concerned, I think a 4.5 is very fair. Again, taking that half point away from the, aluminum for being a little bit slippery, but not the biggest deal. And if you are a fan of aluminum and have plenty of aluminum knives, you are, well versed in the subject of it being a little slippery, so not the biggest deal for you. But 4.5 on the ergos, and that leads us to carry. Again, 2.6 ounces, very, very small, about 4.2 inches overall, so sits in the pocket really, really nicely. You have no flipper tab, no jimping, anything like that to possibly catch on your hand. It is reversible, so lefty or righties can carry it comfortably. Again, sits down deep enough into your pocket to where you would never, it's below your pocket, which is really nice. Lightweight, slim, all the good things about a carry that you would want. So I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but that is an easy 5. Really, really nice to carry in your pocket. And just one of those knives that just disappears and you barely even know it's there. So very, very nice when it comes to the carry. And we are now on to price / value / what I recommend this knife. The last section of my review, category of my review, whatever you would call it. Price point on the Kindred on the Knife Center website is $57.95. And I think that's very fair. Now, I will say it's not the best value, because you can get, aluminum and 14C for that price and less. So I'm mainly looking at the D2 aspect of this model. And I really wish Kershaw, I've really been impressed with what Kershaw has done, over the last year and a half. To them even stepping up to D2 is, thumbs up in my opinion. But a lot of their, $50 to $60 to $75 models have D2. I don't think that they're using 14C on any of their models yet in that price range. So I got to give them props for even stepping up to D2, but I really wish that they would, step up even more to a more, more modernized budget steel, because 14C is fantastic. So I can't give it, the best value points in the world, because again, there are a lot of other options out there with aluminum, with 14C for, $60, even less than that. But I do think the price is fine. I don't have an issue with the price. It's just one of those models. And we've been getting kind of a lot of those on the channel recently, to where I don't have an issue with the price. I just don't think it's necessarily the best value in the world, which can be true for a lot of different things. But can I recommend it? Sure. Like if you guys are, a fan of the aesthetic of this and you don't mind D2, then sure, I think this would be a good option for you. I think that this would be a fine option for, maybe someone just getting into knife collecting, maybe a dad, maybe an uncle, maybe a grandpa, maybe, a father-in-law, someone that, you are wanting to share your hobby with. It's not overly expensive. It's a nice, clean, simple design, really usable in all forms of EDC. Nice deep carry clip. Again, very lightweight, very slim, sits down in the pocket well. I think that this would be a really good option for them. There are other budget button locks out there that I would personally gravitate more towards, being, more of a, I guess you can say, seasoned collector. Ones from Vosteed and some other companies. But I have no issues with it. I really, I'm a big fan of the design overall. I think it looks good. And, fit and finish is fine. It's what you would expect, I guess, from Kershaw's overseas, factory. So as far as price point, value, would have recommend it, all those things. When it comes to a score, I'm going to go 4.5. I don't think it's worthy of a 5 because the value just isn't there for me. For it to be a 5, I think it would have to be 14C and all those different things. But I do find the appeal for it. I do think it's a good enough design to be in some people's collections. And like I said, I think this would be, a great starting point for some of you out there that, want to gift this. And, it's not expensive enough for if someone uses it or abuses it, you can get another one. And this might be a good stepping stone into some more expensive button locks. Yeah, I think that's very fair. So let me count up my score here real quick. Let me do some math. I got plenty of 4.5s and 3.5s to get through. Do some math here off on the side, so I apologize. Alrighty guys, so I have the Kershaw Knives Kindred coming in with a score of 31.5, which lands it in the great category. I think that's fair. I do think it's a great little budget button lock. Not the best. I think that there are plenty of other models that I would choose over it, but I don't have an issue with it necessarily. And I quite enjoyed getting to carry it the few times I did. And it was a pleasant enough surprise. Definitely didn't hold a candle to the first 3 ZT and Kershaw models that I reviewed, but overall, very happy with it. And I think it is a decent enough knife, in general. So 31.5 lands it in the great category. And yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up now, but this was my full review on the Kershaw Knives Kindred. Huge shout out to Lefty EDC for lending this out to us to check out. Always appreciate you, Kev, and I always appreciate you guys as well. Again, please leave a comment down below. Are you guys enjoying this top-down content? Can you hear me loud enough? Can you see everything fine? Any critiques, any little constructive criticism points you guys have, I would love to hear it. But yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up. I can't talk. I am going to wrap this up now, but thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you're watching this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.